Hello and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By. Episode 80, I think?
Yes.
Holy butts!
That's a lot of episodes, bro.
We've done a great job.
We beat TOS.
Yeah.
Ooh, congratulations all. This week, we are starting Season 3 of TNG.
Finally.
It's gotta get better. It must get better. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're looking at episodes Evolution and the Ensigns of Command. As usual, my name is Ames.
I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Jake.
And this is Chris.
Cool. Evolution. Let's see how quick I can do this, cause stuff. Wesley is failing miserably at his job, as usual, and sleeping when he should be doing things, because we're in the middle of Dr. Paul Stubbs' experiment that's been like 196 years in the making, watching the Cavis Alpha binary star system as they're going to do an explosion thing that they do every so often. And Paul Stubbs, played by... Did I write his name down? I don't think I did, but he played Kelso in... Scrubs, and he's great. Really needs to watch this star thing happen so that he can get all of his life's work complete. And then weird shit starts happening on the Enterprise. Like the doors won't open to release his surveying module, and other shit starts happening, like the food dispenser thing in sickbay starts flooding nonsense. And they say, okay, well, we're going to try it again. We think we figured out what's wrong with the computer. We're not letting the things happen. We're going to try again. They try again, and bullshit happens yet again. And they realize, okay, something's really wrong. We're going to shut stuff down. We might have to lose the experiment. Stubbs is pissed.
He's not happy.
He's not happy, and
they
find
really,
out...
like, existential crises.
Yep, and we find out that this is all, guess who? Wesley's fault. Shocking. Why is he on the fucking Enterprise when he's this much of a fuck-up? Because he has been doing these experiments with these medical nanites to try to teach them how to work together in tandem and learn more things. 2 nanites got out, started replicating themselves, and started getting into the computer system and fucking things up.
And each other. Because they multiplied. Too sweet.
She said replicating.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm implying that
sex
sex was involved. Even though it couldn't have been.
Why not?
They could reproduce asexually.
That's what I mean, so sex wasn't necessary. Anyway.
But I thought that was the,
you sure they're not...
the implication, was that because there were 2 of them, they could bone.
Well, no, because there were 2 of them, they could learn from each other, and that was the whole point.
Yeah, they could learn how to bone.
Yeah, play doctor.
All right. We're already down a rabbit hole.
Are they bisexual like Tribbles?
Yes, they're just like Tribbles. They're born pregnant. Stubbs really wants his fucking experiment to happen, so he shoots a bunch of them with whatever radiation that kills them.
Gamma, I was
sure.
going to say. And they turn into the Hulk.
This, however, pisses off the nanites even more, and they specifically attack Stubbs.
Because you're not going to like them when they're angry.
No, I liked them. I liked them plenty. But alright, Stubbs didn't, and they didn't like Stubbs. Meanwhile, Data has been trying to figure out how to communicate with them to tell them to stop being little tiny assholes and be less assholes. Finally, Picard is ready to just flood the whole ship with gamma radiations. When Data finally establishes contact, the critters learn how to talk and communicate, and they take over Data's body, allowing Brent Spiner to do some fun acting, as we always love, and talk as the nanites for a little while. And they figure out, oh, this was all a giant misunderstanding. It sounds just like the fucking giant ugly bags of mostly water thing again, but whatever. Yeah. Alright, we're cool. If you just let us down on a planet, we'll leave you guys alone. You leave us alone. The end. You can watch your explosion. And then they do. Huzzah!
Kaboom!
Yeah, it's a pretty anticlimactic ending, that.
Yeah. It was a, explosion takes, 1 millisecond or some shit?
I don't even know.
Anyway, in our other episode, The Ensigns of Command, terrible title.
Yeah.
But it's the 50th episode of TNG, so there we are.
Ooh.
Hooray.
Data is continuing to try to learn how to human and doing a lousy job on the violin. Mm-hmm. Poor Data, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the Sheliak Corporate requests the removal of a human colony from Tau Cygna 5, where there's a human colony. And the Enterprise says, there shouldn't be a colony there. Let's go figure out what's up, because there's all this radiation down there and they shouldn't be able to survive. They get there, they send Data down because he'll survive in the radiation, and he finds this gigantic colony of 15,000 people. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to get relocated. We'll take on the Sheliak. Sure. And Data has to try to tell them no, this is how it has to go. Meanwhile, we can't use the transporter because it's busted. We can't use phasers because it's busted. And shuttling them person by person would take far too fucking long, and the Shellyak are on their way with fucking guns pointed. Picard figures out a way to stall the Shellyak by finding some stupid rule in their gigantic tome constitution to stall them and allow time for another ship to come in. Data convinces the assholes that the jerks on the planet that nope, you gotta leave because
convince is less the word, as in he sabotaged their means of survival.
They could have rebuilt it.
I don't know. That's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, you can stay, but
made
how
them
long
an
are you
offer
gonna
they
last?
couldn't refuse.
How long are you gonna last without
Bada
water?
bing.
I don't know. They set it up first, so who knows?
Well, not them. Their ancestors.
their
These
ancestors.
stupid fucks.
Yeah.
My grandfather.
Meanwhile, Data totally macks on this woman with a weird face. The end.
She have a weird face.
She had a weird face.
I gotta take that back. My grandfather was acted far too well.
If you do say so, yours.
I have notes on that, but let's start with Evolution.
Do we have to?
Did you not like Evolution? I liked Stubbs. Stubbs was cool.
Stubbs looks too much like a guy that I know from a local theater company.
I think he's got a chode.
What?
A chode?
You think he has a chode? You think
His nickname is Stubbs.
So
Isn't that just actually his surname?
Nope.
So
Yeah,
here's the question though: is it both really long and really thick, or
No,
is it just short?
I think it's like an inch long, but
I thought a chode was a dick as long, wide as it is long.
no. It's a dick that has a larger diameter than it has length.
I'm going to the Urban Dictionary.
Well, be careful. Don't image search that. I don't know if a chode actually exists.
I mean,
Anyway.
Yeah.
what do you mean? I have to look this up.
You can look that up on your own time. We're going to keep talking about the thing. And not
All right,
whatever
but I'm
Jake
gonna
is
interrupt
about.
you and tell you what it says.
Let us know. I have headcanon related to this episode.
Nanites?
Nanites. So, after depositing the nanites on their new homeworld, they eventually consume all of the resources on that planet. But of course, we know that they're evolving exponentially and getting more and more technologically advanced. So, eventually, they figure, well, okay, we've expended all of the materials on this planet, so we're going to have to branch out. But we have no means of doing that. What they find on that planet is that there's an ancient race of humanoids. So the nanites invent a time machine, and they go back in time and are going to use the humanoids to try and get off the planet. But of course, the humanoids are kind of, they're like cavemen. They're not very sophisticated. So the nanites burrow into the cells of the humanoids and essentially take over their body, but they retain their collective consciousness. So they're able to remember all their technology, and then they build ships, leave the planet, off into the ether.
Why did they have to go back in time?
Because they needed a way off the planet.
And also for this to work.
And the only way off the planet would be, because they don't have bodies, they can't build things without bodies. So they needed bodies of the extinct ancient race.
Oh.
That's not a way to go back in time. So go back in time, travel out into space. Time goes by. They run out of raw materials again. They're like, well, we need more people. So then they start bringing other people into their collective by assimilation. And then they build bigger and bigger ships. And then they build their ships in the shapes of cubes.
I was going to say, you're saying they're Borg precursors?
And Wesley Crusher invented the Borg, people. He invented the fucking Borg!
That's an interesting theory. I actually don't hate it.
I mean, it doesn't work at all.
It doesn't work at all.
No, it doesn't, but I like it as for headcanon.
Also,
like
it makes us hate Wesley more, which is fine.
As if I could hate Wesley more.
I mean, as far as theories as to how the Borg got started go, I'm willing to bet it's less dumb than a lot of them.
It was the old aluminum foil in the microwave again equals Borg.
I mean, it seems like it's quite plausible, though, that given what the nanites... Like, these are fucking dangerous machines.
Yeah.
Because you get two of them loose, and they can destroy practically an entire ship on their own.
It's more or less how I see the human race ending.
If they didn't have...
I thought you were going to say that's what the human race does themselves.
If the Enterprise didn't just happen to have a data, they would have been fucked, right? Because no one else would have been able to figure that out and talk to them and everything.
They would
I
have
don't know. I think they probably could have spoken English.
I think they would have ended up sterilizing the computer core. Right?
Or they could have been like, if they didn't have a data, surely somewhere on the ship there's a Vulcan. Actually, we know there's a Vulcan. He's in the string quartet.
And Salar may be around still.
Yeah, and they can just, because Vulcans can mind meld with whatever the story needs them to.
I think only certain Vulcans can mind meld.
Really?
I don't think it's
Spock.
No, I think it's like something
Sark too.
They even talk about that in Enterprise.
Well,
how it's
we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I think it's sort of a lost art. So
okay.
I think the implication is by later on. Anywho, that's neither here nor there.
I thought it was like you had to have the gift.
The Shining.
The Shining.
But yeah, this episode was fine. It wasn't bad, but like you, Ames, my thought was like, oh, this is kind of like a retread of Home Soil.
Mm-hmm. And
admittedly,
Home Soil was forgettable at most.
Yeah, this is a much better...
What the hell was Home Soil?
Ugly bags of mostly water.
The little lights that lived in the, strata or whatever.
Right.
Data fucking a laser to death.
That's right.
Like, it was definitely a better version of Home Soil.
Yes.
But it said all the same beats. It had the angry scientist.
Yeah.
Yep. Just let me do my work.
Yeah.
And I thought Stubbs himself had shades of Daystrom.
Shades.
I can see
50 Shades of Daystrom?
No, just one.
Well, I mean, yeah. In a lot of ways, because there's that scene between Stubbs and Wesley where Stubbs is like, "Yeah, you're the fucking boy genius now.
You're me. You're soon to be me.
Like, I was the boy genius, and now I sit in my room masturbating to baseball games in my head.
God.
Yeah, look what you got to look forward to.
That was the main difference though between Stubbs and Daystrom is like
Daystrom had stopped masturbating years before we met him.
Well, is that
he just had the M5 do it for him.
Well,
probably for the best.
Daystrom had already achieved something major with what was it, duotronic computation or
he
something?
Invented duotronics.
Orgasm?
Yeah. Whereas the implication here, I think, is while Stubbs has been working towards this his whole career, he hasn't necessarily done the one big specific thing. So it's a little different in that Daystrom was trying to capture sort of lost glory of youth, whereas Stubbs is like, this is actually like, whatever else he's done up to this point, it didn't matter because it was all leading up to this. But there was still that, like, aspects of Daystrom without being a carbon copy, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I could see that. Oh, so, a lot of this episode had to do with, like, Wesley discovering himself and
Ew.
And his
with,
mom,
with
like,
the help
being...
of Guinan.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his mom being, like, really, like, worried suddenly. It's like, bitch, you had your chance. You were gone for a year. You don't get to play good mom now.
I missed about 2 inches of him. Bev, gross!
Oh, I didn't think of that.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
Wesley. See, there's your chose
Yeah, I was
right
gonna
there.
say, and actually that's a perfect segue. You're correct. It's a dick that is wider than it is long. And I have been misinformed my entire life.
They also did weird things to Wesley's hair. They gave him, like, sort of a little pompadour. I don't know if they get rid of that in future, but it was like, it's like, no, Bev, he actually only got an inch taller, but then his hair got another inch taller as well.
But his dick did grow 2 inches.
And they had that weird haircut on her.
Yeah.
And again, Guinan still being a better mother than his actual
absolutely.
mother.
No, Guinan rocks. I also like how we had shades of Oedipus complex shit at the end when Bev's like, oh, look, he's hanging out with people his own age. Who is that little bitch?
Who is that little bitch? That's a good question, and this segues nicely into what I was going to talk with you guys about.
All right.
Because there were a whole bunch of cut scenes with that little bitch that would have made the episode. She would have had lines. Her friends in the bright-colored fucking
Black
costumes
cat. Hey, Black Cat.
would have had lines. Oh, good. And the black cat just jumped on my computer and lost the screen where I was going to show you guys.
Oh, what a brat.
Because these cats are the worst cats in the world today. Here's the first cut scene that we're watching on a separate laptop.
Okay.
And we'll share these, of course, with our living audience.
Oh, I already hate this guy.
I'm interested to see how the sound quality on this works.
Wesley, you need some work on your right turns. They're running a systems check right now to find out what happened.
Shut
but
the
everything's
fuck up.
okay.
We're going into the holodeck to ski in Switzerland. You wanna come?
We're going into the
I
holodeck.
can't. I have to go check on Dr. Stubbs.
Where do they
He's
find these actors?
High school.
Wesley,
They're the Miri kids grown up.
kind of an awkward situation here. 2 gorgeous ladies. Only one of me and a terrific programmer. We get snowed in at the ski lodge. Did you just fire any chance?
I only got one dick.
He's not a Klingon.
Meet us at the lodge later on. Eric, I can't. There's just too much to do. Yeah. Oh, okay, next time.
Wesley, what the fuck, Wesley?
That's
Wow.
scene 1. There's a second one.
No,
Wesley,
that
you were
was-
about to get your
that
dick
was
wet.
more
What are
than
you
enough.
doing? No, it was not. It
Yeah.
absolutely was not. Wait, why are you skipping ahead?
Because that's where the second one is.
Oh.
The others are all Stubbs scenes that you guys can watch on your own.
Eric!
What happened to you? We had a little accident in the holodeck.
The holodeck, but it's programmed to prevent injuries. We're making a great run down this deserted slope.
Why is your
Somebody
anus so
drowned us in the
dilated?
hallway.
Engineering, this is Dr. Crusher. The holodecks are to be closed by my order until further notice. We've been having some control problems today.
So is Ginger over here.
There's a small fracture here.
Boing.
This will only take a moment.
You look like you could use something warm inside you.
Call Wesley.
Wes almost came along. It's probably a good thing he didn't.
I didn't know Wes was going to go skiing with you.
He has
It was
no
one of those
friends.
last minute things. We tried to grab him on the way.
Yeah, we don't see much of him now that he's been assigned to the bridge.
He's been assigned to the bridge for like 2 years. What the fuck?
What the fuck? I'll have what she's having.
What happened?
She's dead.
She's not breathing.
Well, that's...
Oh, this is the crew member that almost got killed by the nanites.
Oh, that's probably right.
This is what Picard was referring to, and and
Yeah.
I was like, "What the fuck is he talking about?"
Right, because Stubb isn't a crew member.
And he wasn't killed by accident.
If he'd been alone, he would have died.
All right, that's enough of that.
Mr. Wolf?
So those are Wesley's quote-unquote friends.
You look like you could use something warm inside of you.
You look like you could use something big and pulsing in you.
Oh,
something
Wow.
wider than it is long inside of you.
Oh,
My.
no, thank you.
Those,
Oh, and Dr. Stubbs. Speak of the devil.
those,
Oh, he's a cheese wheel dick.
those children were fucking awful.
Yes,
No,
that's
no.
probably a good reason why to cut them.
They were just fucking.
Yeah.
Also, the nanites weren't supposed to be attacking anybody but Stubb, so they kind of, I can see cutting that and being like, yeah,
But
they're
I
not
thought it was-
attacking.
That was a test run. They wanted to make sure they could get him when they decided to go for
So
it.
that
Where'd my other
I don't
index
know.
card go?
I don't know.
It's gone now. I blame the cat.
So that little scene there is actually because. So for those of you not able to see,
We'll share it. You'll see.
the screaming lady that you heard in that clip was
Me.
was the nurse in sickbay being bitten by the replicator or something.
I was bitten by a replicator once.
Yeah. So, and then later in the episode,
Now she's a
Picard,
were-replicator.
when they're negotiating with the nanites, Picard's like, one of our crewmen you almost killed one of our crewmen, and the assumption was that they were referring to Stubbs, but it makes a lot more sense if they're referring to the nurse in the scene that was.
Yeah, I didn't even. I saw that clip earlier, and I didn't even make that connection.
Well,
There you go. Can we also talk about how there hasn't been a system-wide failure on a starship in 90 some odd years.
Thanks, Data.
And no one, but yet no one on the ship is like, guys, remember like 6 months ago when we got that computer virus?
And the Yamato blew
And
up.
the Yamato blew up?
Yeah,
Like,
I thought that.
Like, everything that's happening right now is pretty much exactly that, so maybe just turn it off and back on again. Try that old maneuver.
Yeah.
Also,
good to know.
it happened in TAS when they went through the practical joking cloud.
But that might have been more than however many years ago they said it was.
and also, TAS might not have been canon yet. More importantly.
Intelligently. I will say that in the original plot, I read somewhere that the little dust mite nanite guys gained sentience and began flying around in a miniature aircraft, which I'm so sad we missed, because that sounds like perfect sci-fi right there.
No, this is now automatically the worst episode ever because we didn't get that.
Worse than Okana? Okay.
It reminds me of...
Because we could have had nanites in a little airplane.
Reminds me of the mouse on the motorcycle or whatever.
Yeah, it would have been
It
adorable.
would have been great. It would have been really cute.
I feel like that is ringing a bell in my head about like,
The mouse on the motorcycle?
oh, you know what it is? It's the episode of it's a Treehouse of Horror episode where Lisa has a science experiment, I think. Where
with
there's
like a
li-
shrunken city or something.
There's a tiny city, and they eventually get airplanes and they
Yeah.
shoot up Bart's head.
Yeah, and it's completely ineffective because they're just mites.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Um,
Until they go nuclear.
No, that's an episode of Futurama you're thinking of, where Bender winds up with the tiny
right, there's a lot of
society
tiny
embedded
societies.
onto him.
Similar episodes. Though.
Yeah.
No, you guys are thinking of Gulliver's Travels when it meets the Lilliputians.
They didn't have airplanes,
Lilliputians,
All right,
as
fine.
Jean-Luc
Fair
calls them.
enough.
so we weren't thinking of that. But thanks for contributing.
Oh, you were saying
I'm sorry.
we were saying earlier about the end of the world and stuff as it relates to this.
We were?
That's what I'm always talking about.
The The gray goo theory is an idea of how the world could end.
Gray goo?
The idea that
Grey Goose?
Goo.
Goose?
That's how the
No,
world
goo.
will end.
Grey
Too much
goose.
vodka.
No S. The idea that eventually nanites will become self-replicating and we won't be able to stop them and they will just consume everything and would be a just gray goo sweeping over the surface of the earth.
I mean, that's probably preferable to dying because of really awful radical shifts in weather patterns.
Do they eat human flesh?
Oh yeah, that's part of the idea.
So that's pretty awful.
Will they,
'Because they
kill,
would just
will they kill
consume
me
all
first?
carbon.
Or...
No, they're just going to eat you away
Until you die.
molecule by molecule over the course of hundreds of days.
Like a
You can
sarlacc.
off yourself. This has gotten really dark. Great.
I was going to say,
Awesome.
good thing I have that overdosing on heroin backup plan in case anything really awful ever happens.
Yeah, I feel like the nanites,
That's definitely how the world's going to end. It
Nanites.
feels right. Yeah, it feels right. It
I mean,
seems...
self-replicating
ultimate-
robots
It's the
are...
ultimate hubris of humanity, it feels like, thinking that they could control
Madagascar
something
will
like
be
that.
okay. Madagascar's always okay.
Well, because they've got
It's
lemurs in
not
charge
that
there.
good. I mean, I saw it. It's cute, but
The old internet meme shut down everything. Remember that one?
No.
no.
It was it's the Madagascar joke. It's from there was a browser game from like 10 years ago or more even possibly that was it was like an infection taking over the world game, and your job was to, I think you played the infection and your job was to infect every country.
Ooh.
The only way, like the infection would spread naturally, I think, but a country could shut down its borders, and if a country shut down its borders, you couldn't get in, right? Because,
I mean, some asshole will wander
well,
in.
yeah, but
Yeah, I was
there-
gonna
That
say, remember
asshole
how-
will fuck it up.
Remember
But-
how we had people coming back to the country with fucking Ebola?
the joke was in that game, for whatever reason with the game mechanics, Madagascar, no matter where you had your start point on the map, Madagascar tended to close their borders before anybody else. And of course, if Madagascar closed their borders,
You can't
you've
win.
lost the game.
They never reopened?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit.
It's like a quarantine.
So you got to get to Madagascar
You've
first.
got to infect Madagascar. But anyway, so
But
the joke has always been
Madagascar will be the only thing that survives,
Exactly,
plus
yeah.
cockroaches
exactly,
and
and the
Twinkies.
shut down everything was a meme from back at that time where the first part of the joke was somebody be like, President Madagascar, somebody sneezed in Budapest, and then the president goes, shut down everything.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Anyway, evolution.
Evolution. I love the comment that, getting back on the Wesley train, like that chick really wanted to do.
Ugh.
Get something warm inside of her.
No.
I liked when Bev was talking with Jean-Luc, being like, tell me about Wesley. And he says, he's his father's son. I'm like, oh, really? How would you know that, Jean-Luc?
I kept waiting for the music that plays whenever they imply that Oscar is Buster's father.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
On Arrested
Unarrested.
Development.
Tell me about him. You think I've paid any attention to him in the last year, aside from when I had to?
What
I
were-
don't know. He's a somewhat competent helmsman.
What were you doing when you were 17? Oh, getting in more in trouble than Wesley. And I was like, really? Have you seen his sweaters?
Well,
He seems to be in plenty of
I mean,
trouble.
he lost his heart by like 20, so I imagine at 17 he was quite a rabble-rouser.
I can see it now, actually. I've got it.
I like it.
The girl,
I like it already.
The girl in sickbay was like, Wesley, you look like you'd like to get in something warm. And Wesley was like, I have just the awful sweater. And that was it. Ever since then.
Yay! That's
Yeah, the
perfect.
clothes his friends were wearing. I mean, I know they're supposed to be skiing, apparently, but still.
Well, we've already learned that ski clothes look fucking stupid
Yeah.
From the Olympics?
No, from the previous episode, Wesley went
Yeah,
skiing.
Wesley went skiing
Yeah,
with
that's
that
right.
kid
Whenever
who he's
we
not,
get cold.
so he's not friends with anymore.
No, because he died of the cold.
That's true.
R.I.P. that guy.
So let's talk about Stubbs' lame fucking hobby.
Baseball? Reenacting baseball games
In his
head.
mind. It's like, dude, you have holodecks. You could probably attend these games.
Yeah, but for
Yeah.
someone who's a genius, it might actually be really, like, kind of a...
It's a way for him
like
to toot his own fucking horn. Be like, I'm so smart, I can do it in my head.
Well, I just feel like it might be just like an exercise, like Sudoku is good for your brain and stuff.
Yeah.
There are nuns somewhere in the world who do lots of brain teasers, and none of them ever get Alzheimer's. Maybe he's just keeping his brain fresh.
Also, though, I mean, baseball is a horribly boring game.
It is.
In fact,
Yeah, the only way to enjoy it is to only remember the highlights, and that's it.
well, I was going to say, like, the only way I can imagine having any interest in it is if you're, like, studying the statistics of it. Like,
Making
I
a
can see,
spreadsheet?
yeah.
Yeah.
If you're, like, a statistics or, math nerd, okay, I can see that being a worthwhile endeavor. But going to the holodeck and sitting and watching a baseball game, unless you can fast forward, which I guess you probably can.
Computer! Get to the good shit.
And get rid of any of the shitty fans that spill beer on the back of you like happened when I was a kid.
So, literally every other fan.
Yes, only you and maybe a copy of you to sit with.
I bet he also likes Texas Hold'em tournaments.
Those can be interesting, though.
I doubt it.
Well,
do you like watching poker tournaments?
If you
Jake?
I like watching the highlights.
See?
I'm just
I mean,
saying,
any
from the
sport's
same-
highlights.
From the same token, though, because there's so much
Yeah, it's like
statistics,
it's
a numbers game, yeah.
It is funny, though, because in the late 80s, I'm sure it seemed unthinkable that baseball could go anywhere. But, fast forward 30 years, and you do actually have the MLB, looking at ways to make the games faster. They're doing everything short of, just cutting it to 7 innings.
Wow.
Which they probably
full
fucking
contact
should.
baseball.
I mean,
Are
Go!
millennials killing baseball also?
Pretty much half the fans leave the game by the 7th inning anyway. So what's the difference? And it's interesting that this is so baseball will play a bigger role in DS9.
Yeah.
By then, don't most people not really know what baseball is?
Well, right. That's what I was going to say. Is that
And that's only a couple years in the from this episode.
So I mean, it's clearly something that you have to already be kind of a nerd to know about.
Yeah, because it feels like
Even
Stubbs is one of the few people.
Baseball is so terrible, it does not survive to the 24th century.
And this is one of those things that doesn't have any sort of obvious TOS contradiction.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever, I don't know about sports in general, but they definitely never talked about baseball.
Well, they don't have television anymore, so...
Pike did.
That's true. Pike did. Pike had a TV in his quarters. He put a hat on it.
Well, the rest of them didn't, and therefore...
He did.
No, I know.
I believe it.
I only heard about the hat recently myself, but I kind of thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Bluegrass.
Mm-hmm.
That bluegrass guitar player.
So really, Stubbs just really likes being a giant nerd.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, what was Troy's point this episode? The answer is none. So let's try to figure this out. What the hell? Because there are several scenes where all she's trying to do is figure out, what's at your core, Stubbs? I have to know what's underneath the layers of you.
A chode.
And that's the thing, is I feel like we were supposed to be annoyed,
Peeling the chode.
cross at Stubbs for being so rude to her, but it's
what is she doing?
Yeah, if someone doesn't want to be analyzed,
I was so happy he was rude to her.
Yeah, no,
Shut up, Troy.
I was 1,000.
She was being invasive.
Yeah, I was 1,000% on his side. You do not force psychotherapy on someone. She should know that. She's a psychotherapist in theory.
She's an empath. She should feel that they're no, I'm not into this. Go away.
Here's the problem.
Put on a shirt.
She actually has become, you kind of you know how your nose gets used to smells quickly? Mm-hmm. She is so constantly surrounded by people thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, go away, Troy. She can no longer sense that.
Yeah.
When you're getting it from literally 999 other people 24/7, even when they're asleep in their dreams, a part of their brain is just going, go away, Troy. So she's become completely immune to it.
That's perfect. I know some people like that, too. Let's see.
James, I wish you wouldn't talk about me when I'm sitting right here.
Shut up, Caitlin! Go away!
So, this wasn't a bad episode, but it wasn't a highlight, I'd say. It was
yeah.
fine. I'd definitely rather watch this again than some of the other bullshit
I liked it
we've
well
seen.
enough. I get pissed at Wesley for not only fucking everything up, but not taking his own advice that he gave to Mendon when it was like, when something is wrong, you tell somebody about it. Yeah. And then he didn't, even when he tells Guinan about it, he still didn't go tell his mother. He dithered about it for a while, being like, oh, well, something may have happened, Mom. Jake.
Tell her about it.
Tell her all your crazy dreams.
Nice.
Yeah.
What I found sort of interesting, though, you reminded me, is that when he did finally come clean, everyone was okay with it. It's like, well, the boy, on the one hand, your experiment is wreaking havoc. On the other hand, it's really ruining Stubbs' day, and I don't like him. So... Alrighty then!
Swings and roundabouts, as we say in France.
Yeah. It's giving Data something sexy to do. Go ahead!
Yeah.
So we didn't really mention it too much, but this is also the return of Guinan.
Yep.
Who I felt I liked her scene, but I also...
Yeah, I liked her. I keep a clean bar.
Yeah.
But I also feel like she might have been somewhat wasted in this episode. I don't know.
I think they realized, and I think, we talked about when characters have good chemistry, then you can capitalize that. And I feel like the people realized that she cancels out Wesley's annoyingness by making it have context.
But imagine how this episode could have been better if instead of Troy dealing with Stubbs, if it had been Guinan dealing with Stubbs, and he was drinking his sorrow away.
Oh, that would be good.
And then she could talk to him about baseball because she
would know baseball.
She would know baseball because she's so old.
She has many children.
Is that this one where she mentions the son it took a few hundred years to have come around?
Yeah. I like Guinan.
She's great.
You know who that son is? Q.
I like this headcanon.
No, it's Malcolm McDowell.
I don't know who that is.
Anyway, anything else on this one, or should we shift over?
I know you've been ready to rejoice at the new costumes.
Oh, yes. So here's one thing, though.
Yes.
I actually have to make a massive, massive correction.
Go on.
To an article I wrote well over a year ago. I said these were jumpsuits.
They're not jumpsuits.
No, the HD makes that plain.
For the women, aren't they jumpsuits? Or am I crazy?
They might be for the women.
The thing is, the only like senior officers and like people with like very large roles
got
them
the new ones
because they cost $3,000 each to make.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Each.
But yeah, so
I think it was mostly like the material and the labor putting them together because it was made out of specifically a breathable wool.
Oh, which explains your question from last episode.
How much less will they
stank? I don't know, why wool? Why not cotton?
I think cotton would look better.
Exactly.
I didn't care for the fabric. I think it didn't look like uniform material. It looked like they were just hanging out in
pajamas.
Their
I think it looks Jersey. It looks less like pajamas than the old ones did.
It still looks like pajamas, though.
But
still looks like they're kicking back. They're going to watch popcorn on the TV.
Very subtle, and you only notice it in some shots. And I can't say I ever noticed it before HD. Is that there are two seams running down the front.
There's seams and there's this weird little like square section. Yeah. So that's what I was saying. Is like now this is an HD and it's because I'd never really before this run I'd only ever seen it in standard definition.
Yeah. If they didn't have those seams, I think it would look sleeker. But as it is, it makes everyone, even Data, look paunchy.
So what's funny though is like having never noticed the little seam, the little square panel before. I like those. I've never seen them.
You like them?
Yeah, they're interesting. They're random and weird, but they're interesting.
Are they like darts or something? Is
that
not like a dart?
Quite. They're like I'll show you later. They're just like just a random. It's probably where they just put two panels together and they couldn't really hide it. But yes, no. This also showed to me that with the men at least, it's actually a jacket zipped up over presumably quite high-waisted trousers, but it always looked like a jumpsuit in SD.
I don't know about that because they're zipped up the back.
Yeah, but I mean there's trousers underneath, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but it's not like it's like they have to get into it from the back, and then somebody has to zip them up.
Oh yes, yeah, definitely, but it's not a jumpsuit either way.
Oh yeah.
Because the HD Netflix thing, and also I actually saw a photo not that long ago of it was Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner like between takes or something or before filming, and because Spiner was in his makeup but he wasn't in uniform. But in retrospect, I realized they were both in sort of these high-waisted black trousers, and it's like, oh shit, that's their uniform. They sent with the shirts on. So these uniforms, thanks to high definition, have gone up, in my estimation, by not being jumpsuits.
And I like, there's definitely some nice things about these. The fact that they have collars.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Mandarin
Big deal.
collar, which
Yep.
is specifically a very military-looking collar.
Yeah.
Although
I
I
like
have to say,
those.
I think for my money, and for just talking, and we're not including pre-TNG uniform styles,
Mhm.
I still think I prefer the uniform that's introduced in DS9.
Me too.
Which is inverted and has an undershirt, which I like.
You wear it upside down.
And it also, because the color is just a sort of a thing on the shoulder. Because the one problem I still have with this one that I stand by from my piece from ages ago, the way the color just sort of ends awkwardly. It just stops. Like, they put the sort of swoosh design in the front, but in the back it just stops. And it's like, it's not broken up by like a belt or something, it just stops. The DS9 variant fixes that by just having it like, just be a shoulder accent.
I did write down this quote from Patrick Stewart when he was asked about the new costumes, and his comment was, "Well, the new uniforms don't hurt."
Mm. Although he evidently never quite gets comfortable in it because he's always pulling the front of the shirt down.
Well, I assume it must be running up a little.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
That guy, he never wins with you costumes, because I remember reading an interview with him years ago talking about being Professor X, and like, they made him these really, really nice suits.
Mm.
And they're like, oh, what? And someone's like, did you keep any of them? He's like, no, I couldn't. Because they were tailored to look really good while I was sitting.
In the chair.
So he would stand up and the pants would be way too long and the jacket would be too short. Because they specifically made them to look good while he was in the wheelchair.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if people who are in wheelchairs,
If they have
if
the
they
money.
have different tailoring than
Probably,
if they
yeah.
have a suit made.
Yeah, if they have the money, I'm sure they would do that.
Interesting, yeah, because you don't look good sitting down in a regular suit.
No, that's why whenever anyone sits down, they unbutton the suit first.
Yeah, but if you were a person in a wheelchair, would you have a custom suit that looked good?
Yeah, I mean, again, I imagine if that person has the money.
There's a random question about suit jackets. As someone who doesn't wear suit jackets, they have 2 buttons on them.
It depends
Some
on
of
the
them.
style.
There's different styles.
Okay, well, whenever the ones that have 2 buttons on them, I've only ever seen the top button buttoned, and then they unbutton it to sit down and stuff.
Yep.
What is the second fucking button for?
No idea.
Decoration.
Decoration.
But it's never buttoned. It's just there.
I assume...
It makes me angry.
Decoration.
Ah!
So, if I had to
You can
guess...
button it, but it's more of a
I feel like people
casual
would
style.
hate you if you buttoned it because no one else buttons it.
If I had to guess, and I'm guessing here, someone who knows better can correct me, it's possibly so that if you're out and about and it's like actually like windy and unpleasant, you can sort of button up against the elements if you don't have an overcoat.
Or if you spill mustard on your shirt and you have to hide it.
Yes, that too. Anyway, this has been Sartorial Corner. I don't
ready
hate
to move on to
I have
Ensigns of Command?
one more bone to pick with this episode.
Wesley didn't save the day?
Well, he did kinda.
No, he ruined the day.
Created the problem and then solved the problem.
Data solved the problem.
That's true. But he came... Well, I guess... Yeah, he didn't really solve the problem. He just came clean.
He just said what the problem was because he's the one who
that's true.
caused
So
it.
yeah, fuck Wesley. No, my bone was with the musical taste of the nanites. They were Stars and Stripes forever. Like, really? If that's not even... that's so predictable.
Hey, listen. It was public domain.
There's tons of marches that are... National Emblem. Far better
What
march.
is national emblem? What does that
Yeah,
sound
the-
like?
So, Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, sure.
So, national anthem is... Da 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 da.
Oh, that one. I didn't know that was called. Okay, thank you. I thought you were just fucking up National Anthem.
No, National Emblem.
Yeah.
It's a march.
Never knew that title.
I was
I
gonna
knew
say,
the
the
song.
national anthem is not a march, is it?
Oh, man.
Technically?
No, National Anthem
It
is
was
not.
probably
I
also
didn't
just
think
like
so.
what was most amusing to watch Patrick Stewart get annoyed at.
They should have
Speaking-
played the French national anthem.
Speaking of Picard getting annoyed at music, Ensigns of Command. Data plays the violin.
Probably because Sherlock Holmes, if I had to guess.
Does Sherlock Holmes play the violin?
He does. He is a virtuoso.
Is he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Isn't he fucking amazing at it?
I think it
he is
depends
in
on the adaptation.
BBC series.
Oh, God. Jeremy
Jeremy Brett.
What did I say?
Jeremy Holmes.
Who's that?
No
That's
one.
somebody? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sherlock Holmes. Okay, there we go. Sorry, let me try again.
Full circle.
Jeremy... It's full circle jerk?
Always.
Nice.
What's happening?
Caitlin.
Jeremy Brett. He's amazing.
Who's that?
The Sherlock from the BBC series.
Actually,
Oh,
it
do you mean
wasn't
Benedict
BBC.
Cumberbatch?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh, but Cumberbund?
Yeah.
Tribal
Sherlock-
Rock Bandersnatch?
That Sherlock Holmes wasn't BBC.
What?
Yeah, no.
It wasn't?
No.
Dude.
Wait, Benedict Cumberbatch was?
No, Benedict Cumberbatch is the
If
Jeremy
you think-
Anyway.
You should watch the Jeremy Brett Holmes.
There's
It's
so
the
many
fucking best.
fucking her
There's a
home
lot
shows
of
because there's
Holmeses.
also a U.S. show.
Yeah,
Lucy Liu?
Elementary.
No one needs to watch Sherlock. But,
Elementary.
Elementary.
And then there's a movie series with Jude Law.
Yeah, and Robert Downey.
And
But
Robert Downey.
the sort of definitive TV version is definitely
Who's
the
the other
Jeremy
one?
Brett
Rose McGowan?
Yeah, she's a Raina Adler. Anyway.
Listen,
Yeah,
the
he-
best is still
Jeremy-
the Great Mouse Detective.
Jeremy Brett is to Sherlock Holmes what Dave...
Foley is to News Radio.
Exactly,
Dude,
but
Kids
what's
in the
his
Hall.
name?
David Suchet.
David Suchet is to Poirot. Except that Jeremy Brett
So
died before he could
the
finish...
the definitive
yes.
Yeah.
portrayal.
The platonic
is what you're saying?
ideal
Yeah.
of a Sherlock Holmes. But Jeremy Brett sadly died before... What were there, 3 more stories that
I
never
don't
got
remember
to?
off the top of my head, but there was still some to do.
Yeah, it's too bad. Jeremy Brett was... I love him.
So, was there a reason for this title? Because it makes no fucking sense.
Yes, there is a reason for the title. The title comes from a poem,
Oh,
as
of
so
course.
many
Snatch.
like Star Trek episodes do. And this was a poem written by John Quincy Adams.
Oh, Jesus.
I didn't write down any of the poem
Sit
because
down,
fuck
John.
it. But the ensign in the
Different John.
in the line refers to a flag or a symbol, not to the rank of ensign.
Yeah.
So it means more like the flags or the
Well,
symbols.
that's
of
what an
command.
ensign.
I don't know.
Yeah, but the I'm pretty sure the position, the rank,
It's
is
just symbolic. Haha.
it's named after a flag, like an ensign.
It's still a really
Is it
bad idea for your TV show that has a bunch of people with that rank.
Yeah,
Especially when you've got your acting ensign who you think, oh, this is... Like, you'd think it's a Wesley episode.
Yeah, I assumed it was a Wesley episode.
I'd call it the flags of command.
Well, is it...
I'd call it any fucking thing else.
You know, a terrible title. Because again, like, you're right. Now that you say it's like, oh yeah, ensign can be a flag, but that's no one's first
And what
thought.
does it have to do with trying to remove a colony from a planet? Call it the doomed colony.
How about
Done.
call it up the long ladder?
Yeah, too late.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake.
How about chick wants to bone a robot?
Yeah. She totally boned her
boner.
sex bot with the fucking duckbill head.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, those
Daily.
are like art sculptures. I don't think those
No,
are actual robots.
Those were her robots.
yeah, Data, like, made a reference to them, so they were very unadvanced.
I just thought they were. I mean, they looked like something.
I mean, as props,
like
they
some
were
kind of
things.
Yeah, they were
Trash.
badly made.
some kind of trash that an amateur welder would put out on their lawn and be like, "I'm art."
Well, except
Yeah.
the dick. She sculpted the dicks brilliantly. You just couldn't see them.
well,
So,
Every detail.
I'm going to ask Ames,
I'm
did
not
the
gonna know.
director intentionally make it that no one on the planet could act?
Okay.
Wait, there's
I
actually a
think-
reason
was
for
the
this?
black guy supposed to be part Vulcan?
No.
Oh,
But
that's a shame.
Goshevin, the leader of the colony, Goshevin, was acted by, I forget the guy's name, I didn't write it down, but he didn't want to use his voice. I guess when they looked at it, he didn't like how his voice sounded, so they had another actor dub him
Stop.
poorly
Stop.
at the physical actor's request.
I want to see
And
the original
watching
version
it,
where
it's so obvious and bad.
I want to see the original.
I'm sorry, Chris.
the
Chris is looking
original,
deadpan at me now.
Footage where it's like, "Hi, I'm Goshevin.
Well, it's like when you
Have
watch
you
that.
seen our aqueduct?"
It's like when you watch that footage of Star Wars before they overdubbed Vader. But wait,
Or Chewie.
yeah, or that. Both are funny. I think we've shared that before. But okay, oh my
Yeah.
fucking
it's
god!
really, really distracting because, granted, like, the lips, like, all the lips match, but, like, the intent never matches. And
See,
it
I was
always
gonna
looks off.
I didn't
Intent
notice.
never matches.
I didn't notice that it was dubbed, so they did that well.
You could tell something was wrong, though, it sounds
His
like.
performance was shit.
Yeah.
But
Because it was two different fucking people.
the problem. Okay, so what was everyone else's excuse? Because
No.
by the end,
They were awful.
So I actually did think that I was like, are they trying to suggest that the black guy he has
Heritath, I think.
like there was some it's obvious the bloodline has been such that there's not enough left to appear Vulcan, but he definitely had a demeanor.
That was just bad acting. This is what we've talked about. Either you act
Yeah.
like a Vulcan or you act badly. This guy was just doing bad acting. That could be
that was
mistaken for
brutal.
Vulcan.
yeah, well, it's like everyone.
Kentor I liked. I thought he was okay. The
was
friend.
whiny.
The Nebuchadnezzar
bitch.
fella.
Sure.
No, he wasn't good either. But no one on the planet who had lines could act. And, like, to the point that, like I said, halfway through the episode, all I could do was like, you know what? so I can survive this with my sanity intact, I'm going to tell myself these people have forgotten how to sound natural. Because originally there were like 30 of them, and they've had to fuck like nanites to get the numbers
There's
back
also
up.
no way. It's okay. Someone has to do the math for
They were on a
us.
colony ship.
What?
The Artemis.
Yeah, I know.
They were on a colony ship. So what was their original number?
I don't know.
Much bigger, but it was badly dwindled by the radiation.
Well,
It
that's
was
the thing.
dwindled by a third. That's not that bad.
So, how many people would have fit on a colony ship in... Now, remember, we're talking about around Kirk's time.
92 years ago,
Or a
they
little
said.
after, possibly.
So maybe like 500-ish, like the Enterprise.
Okay, so if we say 500 people...
And we lose
And then we
130.
lose a third of them. So...
No, more than that, 165?
Let's just say... Let's
And then
be
everyone has
generous
10
and
or
say-
11
Let's be
kids.
generous and say there's
165.
let's say there's 400 of them left.
Uh-huh. You take umbrage with the fact that they went from 400 to 15,000 people in the span of 92 years?
In the span of basically two, maybe 3 generations.
Yeah, that seems like...
Maybe
Yeah.
all the women had like 10 kids?
Well, that's the thing.
This
I
is
only
like,
saw like a
that fucking
handful of
episode
children.
with the clones.
Yeah.
There were only like a handful of children.
I have a question.
I mean, we didn't see 1,500 people total.
That's true, but I feel like we would have
Let's say
seen.
15,000.
I feel like there had like if they were procreating at that rate, there would have to be pregnant women and children everywhere.
Which, again, considering this was on a world
This
with
was an Irish planet, Jake.
radiation that's
practically
severely detrimental to
So
humans, well done.
So we said we had 400 people.
I mean, I don't... This 500 on a colony ship number is pulled out of an ass, so...
Well, I think it's reasonable.
It's reasonable, but I don't, like... I would say maybe 1,500.
I mean,
and that gets you
well,
closer.
let's compare it to the Irish, right?
Mhm.
Because
Well, except they were from even earlier, though.
they were from earlier, but they had much longer time, and there's clearly only a couple hundred of them. Did they even say how many of them there were?
I don't think so, but
It was like at most a couple of hundred of them.
So if we assume 400 people and half of them are women, and every one of them has 10 children,
Yeah, this is basically
Well,
the
at
fucking
that-
Ireland
and
plan.
then
At
they
this
have
rate, there better be a
10
better
more
ratio
children?
than 50-50 males to females. There has to be like...
but the reality
Two
is...
10
girls
fi-
for every
At least.
boy. It's like the Wesley scene we just watched.
All right, let's see. 15,000 divided by... We're going to do it by 5 divided by 5. We would have needed 600 women to get to 15,000 in 2 generations.
Yeah.
yeah, the numbers
Could
are
have just
definitely...
been one guy.
Although, I mean,
But he would've had to have
women
been
will
blowing
have...
loads
well,
every
how
day.
many children does that assume each woman having? Just one?
10 children.
So every woman has 10 children. We still need 600 women?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Wow.
What's it for
throwing a
20
hot-
children?
Like throwing a hot dog down the hallway.
Oh, man.
Hey, my grandmother is one of
This is like-
16, 17?
Yeah,
16
my
kids.
grandmother had a lot of... all right, so what did you say? 20? 20 children?
Well, it'd be half that, right?
And this is also 2 or 3
exponential.
generations.
no, wait.
But over 2 generations, it would be exponential. So.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, we don't have the time
I was
to
trying
do
to
that.
do the
Data could figure it out. Whilst also
someone
making out
nerdier
with
than
us.
us can comment on our Facebook what the actual numbers would
maths.
be. Yeah.
So yeah, bad title,
Bad title.
Bad
Bad
extras.
acting.
bad aliens.
Didn't get to see enough Data kissing.
No, it's true.
I don't know, I got kind of jealous when she kissed him, so I'm kind of glad I didn't see more.
I think it'd be closer to 3 or 4 generations than 2 generations. Because we're thinking 2 complete generations.
Oh, that's true.
It's true.
But yeah, I just
Plus, if they started having kids as early as possible.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
assume between 16 and
8,
20.
yeah.
Is when you're
And then you
starting up.
keep going
yeah,
until
92
you're dried
years,
up.
that does give you, like,
And you keep
4
going, and you go until you're about 40.
generations. Yeah. Well, you know,
it's possible. It's possible.
well, if you started at 16, you could have a kid every year until your fucking vagina
And
falls
this is
out.
also assuming 0 infant mortality. In fact, 0.
which seems very unlikely in those early years.
Especially
Yeah.
on a planet with hyperonic radiation.
And where they don't have access to water immediately. Like, it took a long time, I'm sure, to build that aqueduct.
Probably close to a
And
generation.
They were probably still losing a lot of kids to the radiation.
How did they mine
So
the raw
basically the-
materials to
Yeah,
build this?
there's a
aqueduct?
lot of problems
Yeah.
with this episode.
Yeah, that all of this stuff was built in 92 years whilst you're also figuring out how to survive.
Yeah. Plus, I think the thing I was quoting earlier, that my grandfather wasn't his grandfather like died on a ridge helping plan the aqueduct, so they even had the aqueduct the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could almost give it a pass if it was like oh, well, we found these ruins on this planet, and we brought them back.
Yeah, but that was never said.
Because that's
so
the
you have
other
to
thing,
assume
too,
it's
is that,
all new.
like, all their shit was, like, formed concrete. Like, that's not what you would build things out of, I don't think.
Thank God we
Given
found
those
this old movie set to build
Yeah.
around.
This was also the planet of wearing cloaks. Everyone had several cloaks to wear.
Yeah, who's making... Where are they... Are there
These are naturally occurring cloaks.
That
Can
actually,
plants grow?
I
Like,
will
what-
say, between
Maybe they had a replicator on the colony ship.
Maybe.
It's possible,
Oh, that's
right?
a good idea.
Replicated the babies.
Stubbs
Or
and-
baby.
Yikes.
Between Stubbs and the last one and the colonists in this one, I was very happy to see civilian clothing that wasn't just spandex.
That's true.
In fact, I even thought that the woman, though she couldn't act to save her life,
I think she was that bad.
had a great costume. I just wish she didn't have the suspenders. They were distracting.
I loved every bit of it.
I like her little jacket.
No, I loved the jacket. I loved the trousers. I didn't like the suspenders.
So we meet the Shellyak corporate.
Do we ever see them again?
I'm assuming not.
What?
They were in... That's the thing, like, I feel like they were a good idea, but the execution was flimsy.
The critter reminded me of Yarnak.
Was that the thing from Galaxy Quest?
No, the Yarnak was the critter from the Savage Curtain, the episode with Abe Lincoln.
Oh, that rock monster,
Yeah.
which maybe inspired the one from Galaxy Quest you're thinking of now that you say that.
Grignac was from Galaxy.
Yeah, the one where they had to... Yes, you're right.
I fell asleep during Abe Lincoln episode.
Oh, well, there was a horrible rock monster that was
He was
making...
a great rock monster.
monster! There's a rock monster making all the illusory people. And yes, you're right, there is sort of a resemblance there.
I like the idea of the Shellyak corporate as being the idea, because we get throughout most of the other species that we interact with on Star Trek, even ones that are pretty far advanced.
Like the Ferengi.
Yeah, but they're all. You always get the sense that everyone's at least sort of on the same page. About the same level of development.
Even Q, we kind of get like, okay, you're an advanced being, but we get you.
Yeah, but these guys are just like, they think of humans, or I presume any humanoid aliens, as being like on the level of a mouse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're something that's in my house and I want you gone.
Yeah.
So either you leave on your own or I hit you with a bat.
Is it like... I feel like this is some kind of commentary. It could be like gentrification. It could just be the fact that Americans are greedy, shitty, fucking awful people that...
Well, I mean, the fact that they're called the Shellyak corporate certainly isn't subtle.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just called me dumb. That's fine.
That was not my point. I apologize.
Congratulations, Caitlin, on getting the thing.
Not my point. I was agreeing with you.
You were right, Caitlin.
Y'all are mean.
No, we aren't.
Yes, you are.
Only with our words.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I mean,
with your face.
But yeah, the Shellyak corporate, they're obsessed with contracts, like...
No, because otherwise the humans will misinterpret it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, no, this is the first time really since, like... Because even the closest we came to this previously was the First Federation with Baylock. Mm-hmm. But even he came around to be like, you guys actually seem okay! And the weird eye monsters in the fucking...
Animated series?
No, the OK Corral episode.
Oh.
Again, like, by the end, you know what? Come talk to us after all. That never happens with these guys. They just use, legalese to make them go like, fine, we will give you your 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Is Baylock, what's his name?
Clint Howard, yes.
Yeah, that's it.
See, now that would have been an interesting thing to have done in this episode, is made it the First Federation. Because then you would have, if instead of the Shellyak, instead of introducing this new race, you just make it the First Federation, it actually makes sense timeline-wise for like, oh, after meeting with Baylock, they signed this detailed contract. Because you got to figure Baylock's only one person in the First Federation. There must be a lot more.
Yeah, but Clint had grown up in the meantime, so you couldn't have had him
They could
again.
have just had some other stupid baby.
I believe, Jake, if you remember our episode,
Stupid
we
babies
posited
need the most attention.
That he was.
Yeah,
the
just
first
him and a
one.
shitload of puppets.
Yes.
And that's why he was so excited to have his new friend to help him run the puppets.
I think it would have been an interesting callback, possibly, if they had... If instead of introducing a new species that's only going to show up this one time and we'll never hear from them again...
Have a cool costume.
Cool, because, well, I don't know, their
I
costume
didn't
kind of
like
looked a
that.
little like Armis to me.
It just looked like cloth that someone was clearly underneath, kind of trying to make it look like it was breathing by pushing a component in and out.
It was cool in the sense that it was
Different.
different and scary and such, but like I don't know, it would have been interesting if they brought back one of the discarded alien.
I don't know. I feel like
TOS.
that could easily just turn into fucking fan wank bait.
But that's what this is, right?
Is it yet?
I mean, it's always been.
I don't know about always. I feel like we haven't had like blatant like, oh, this is what Kirk did. It's not like Discovery, which is blatant fan wank.
I don't mind a little fan wank, and as long as if it serves the story, right? It's okay to make a callback to a previous thing.
My only problem is I just don't see the First Federation becoming
hostile.
Not at that level.
Yeah.
Like they did feel like once they got past like the initial sort of test. They seemed like kind of chill dudes.
Yeah, they'd be reasonable. They wouldn't be like, 3 fucking days and that's it, assholes.
That's true.
Like, if they'd wanted, this would have actually been a not shitty use.
Of the Romulans?
Yes.
We're back!
If it's like, we've got this planet, it's disputed, and part of Romulan magic is we can survive in that radiation, so why not?
Other Romulans like Vulcans, they just acquire magic powers.
Why not? I'm sure.
15 Island!
But I do. It would have been nice to maybe have them bring someone back. I just don't know if the First Federation quite would have fit the mold.
Yeah, because the First Federation is kind of goofy.
But it's also possible they were hoping to bring these Sheliak guys back more often, and just for whatever reason,
possibly.
It's what it's almost like happened. It's like they took the Sheliak corporate, took the idea of being like super business minded, but made it less serious and gave it to the Ferengi.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, this would have been an interesting introduction of the Ferengi if they weren't already ruined in the past episodes.
Well, I just don't believe they could genocide anybody.
I don't think they could either, but I don't know if they were actually going for this idea that they sort of started with in season 1, which is that the Ferengi are the new Klingons. This dangerous species that we don't know a lot about. That would have been. This would have been right, a better way.
You know who it really should have been? Should have been those dipshits from the Samaritan Snare. They actually stole. They stole like a Genesis device from someone, and were just like.
There you go.
Like not really knowing how to use it, but.
We make planet go.
We look for things.
But yeah,
I didn't like Troy's analogy either, because fucking Troy. God
what was
damn
her
it,
analogy?
Troy. Her analogy was like, because no one's been able to really communicate in the Sheliak's language. Like they're basically talking dumb to us. They're talking baby talk because the Federation is a bunch of infants to them. And she's like, it would be like trying to communicate with someone who you didn't have their language. Like, is this coffee, or is this cup, or is this liquid, or is this brown? And I'm thinking to myself, like, you did this with Riva and you were fine? This is exactly what you sent Riva to do? And that was supposed to be an impossible task?
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. You know why it doesn't make any sense?
It's Troy.
Yeah, no, she is not well written.
Yep, they found a thing for her to do this episode. They were like, good.
It was
great.
also
we
really
got Marina. We're fine.
Repetitive this episode. It was like Data goes, "You guys got to move," and Greg, what was his name? Georgiak, Kragnak, Goshevin's all like
Bolsheviks.
Yeah, Bolsheviks like I don't wanna. And then, like, every scene, a few more people
but with a different voice than what he has, actually.
Yeah. And every scene, like, a few people like, maybe the robot's right. No! Okay, he isn't right. Like, that's just back and forth. Nothing's happening until Data finally goes, fuck it, I'm gonna shoot your aqueduct. And then the Sheliak thing is like, could you be reasonable? No! Next scene. Could you please be reasonable? No! Come on. No! Fine, here's the thing we should have noticed really early on. Fuck! Like, this episode could have been 20 minutes.
Well, I don't know. I do think there were parallels between the two stories.
Oh, totally.
One of them was Data dealing with a command situation that he wasn't really equipped to deal with, and then on the other hand, you have Picard, who's a very skilled negotiator. Like, Picard probably could have talked Goshevin into jumping down the well himself, but you have Picard dealing with a diplomatic situation that he's not equipped to really deal with.
It's basically it's that fucking Troy analogy. This is making it work. It's about communicating to somebody in a language they'll understand.
Yeah.
Whether it be action or whether it be legalese.
Yeah. And while that's true, my issue again is just that the escalation was fucked.
With Data, you mean?
In both halves.
Oh.
Like, it just it just felt like they were stretching it out, not that they actually had a proper, like, when Goshevin fucking zaps Data, it's just because they were like, we need to have something happen that seems dangerous, I guess.
We need an action happen.
Now it's just like, oh wait, I can make the phaser work, because we need to wrap this fucking episode up.
And I also feel like the whole thing with Goshevin zapping Data, I feel like more people, like, after that point, everyone except Data's girlfriend was like, oh, I guess you're right, Goshevin. No one's like, he just murdered that guy.
Yeah.
Goshevin just murdered a man.
Yeah, everyone just leaves the lady's house like no big deal. Like, oh yeah.
Are we really sure we should follow this guy? Because he seems like he just murdered a guy.
Also, if you heard
like
his voice,
a
he doesn't match his face.
Yeah, no, it was... The more,
like George W. Bush, your face does not match the shit you're saying, sir.
When I first finished this episode, I thought, well, shitty acting on the planet aside, it was fine. Now that we've talked about it, no, it was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
It was shit.
Well, you know what I did kind of like? I don't know if I liked it or if it was just a change of pace that was kind of funny. Was everything that happened in the transporter room with Geordi.
Oh yeah, that was fun enough.
Just, you can't tell me this is impossible. Here's this impossible task. But sir, that's we'll be right on it, sir.
I wanted him to say, that's improbable.
That's not a thing that's possible.
My favorite thing, though, my favorite part of that was when Picard walks in and he's like, how's it going? They're like, horribly. And he's like, good, carry on.
I forgot about that. That was amazing. I think he said, as well as you can expect, splendid.
What is all that melted metal? Just what we've been working with, sir.
Yeah. It turned inside out.
And then exploded.
But no, it's like for a split second he turned into the fucking Brigadier from Monty Python. Like, splendid.
See, for me, you sound like you're doing an impression of George Banks.
Or that. Yeah. When
how's
George
everything going here? I have no idea where the children are. Splendid. Like, it's a Mary Poppins reference for anyone who's not with us yet.
Best family movie ever made.
I haven't seen it in a million years.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Yes.
There are penguins.
Penguin. I did read that, so in all the transporter
scenes,
Wesley is quote-unquote helping.
And I forgot he was even in this episode.
That's the point. Like, the funny thing is, this is the first episode that was produced. It just happened to come out after Evolution.
Okay.
Which is a very, very Wesley-heavy episode. But Wil Wheaton was busy filming a movie when, this one was going to start
what movie?
Filming. I forget. Look it up.
I think Kate and I both made like they put Wil Wheaton in a movie face.
He was in Stand By Me.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
He was in Stand By Me.
Yeah, he's
that was his first role.
One of the kids. Yeah.
Yeah, but he was.
I haven't seen that in ages.
He was the main kid, wasn't he? I think he was the main character.
I don't know. When was this episode? Like 1990?
Yeah, it was years later.
1989.
Thank you.
But, he didn't think there would be any overlap because, he wasn't really going to be featured in this episode much, and he thought, the next episode he'd be in a lot. But I guess the studio just outright lied to him and said, like, no, we need you in this one. This is a very Wesley-heavy episode. There's going to be a lot going on. We need you back. So I don't know if he, left the film or his schedule was just impacted greatly, but he comes back, and he's just in the background flailing at this fucking transporter thing because they fucking own his ass, and they
Studio executives are such pricks.
They needed to assert dominance.
Like, that could have been any asshole in a yellow shirt. It didn't have to be him.
Could have been Sonia Gomez again.
Yeah. I legitimately forgot he was even in those scenes. I most remembered it being Geordi and Chief O'Brien.
It can never be Sonia Gomez.
He had, one line that was like, "This is impossible, Geordi." And Geordi's like, "Shut up, kid."
So, Wil Wheaton was in The Secret of Nim.
No shit.
He played Martin. Mrs. Brisby has 4 kids. One of them is sick, one of them is very young, and then there's the older boy who thinks he's a badass, and then there's the little girl. And
Wesley played the little girl?
Yeah. that was good. No, he played Martin, who's the boy.
The boy.
Wow, he's just always the boy.
I don't have a ton more to say on this episode. I know they had to cut $200,000 and lost a lot of what would have been Audrey Data romance scenes.
That's fine.
Which I don't know how I feel about because I'm sure they wouldn't have done them well. But I feel like I still need to see them. Nothing in this episode
was done well, so that might have been preferable anyway.
I mean, it wasn't terrible. I mean, it was kind of half-assed in a lot of ways. I don't know. I thought there was interesting. I don't know. I appreciated the Data's arc in this.
Yeah.
It was fine. Like I said, my opinion of this episode has shifted drastically as we've talked about it, so I'm kind of still a little wobbly on where exactly it stands. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still better than a lot of the garbage I hated in season 2.
Yeah.
But it's definitely already a candidate for worst of season 3.
Out of the 2 we've seen so far.
Well, what I mean is I could already just be thinking these are both, like, fine. Like, going into this, I was like, these are both fine.
There's some really good episodes.
But it has
that are
now
coming
been
up,
severely
so-
downgraded.
So I think the movie that he was making at the time, by the way, was probably Toy Soldiers, because it's his only...
Wait, Toy Soldiers? Didn't...
Misfits, underachievers, rebels, the boys of the Regis School have been kicked out of the best prep schools in America. Terrorists just took over their campus.
Wait, what
Now
is this?
years of bad behavior are about to pay off.
Wow, that sounds awful.
Oh, I was thinking of
fucking-
Small Soldiers.
Yeah,
That's- yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones and all
What's
that.
This is
funny
only-
They
is
probably
Hard.
wanted to call it Toy Soldiers until they found out this fucking Wil Wheaton
No,
movie
I
existed.
never even heard of that.
Sean Astin was apparently also in this, and
He's
isn't
in
he
fucking
also in Stand By
everything,
Me?
isn't he?
Wasn't he in Stand By Me?
No.
No, he was in the Goonies.
Yes.
He was in the
Sean,
Goonies.
and then Corey Feldman was in both, which is what I was
Corey
confusing
Feldman was in
myself
both.
with.
River Phoenix was in Stand
Stand
By
By
Me.
Me.
Poor River Phoenix.
And there was
pretty
a fourth
man.
kid. Who
He
was the
was.
fourth one?
I don't know, somebody.
Some kid.
Well, folks, there you have it. Star to steer her by. Thanks, everyone. Next week on this very podcast, we're going to talk about 2 new episodes. New to us, new to you, possibly. Episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation. Season 3, Episode 3, The Servivores. And Season 3, Episode 4, Who Watches the Watches.
I do.
So...
Depends on what time it is.
Nah.
So join us next time for those 2 exciting installments of Star Trek.
You know what they say, a watched watch never watches.
I've heard that.
They do say that. I've heard that.
Yeah, there's a joke about that later. In
There is.
Star
Yeah.
Trek.
I remember it.
Of course, you will be able to listen to those episodes if you listen to you'll be able to listen to our commentary on those episodes. If you listen to our podcast next week, in order to do that, you can find us on the internet at soundcloud.com. Search for Star to Steer Her By. You can find us also on iTunes and Apple and Google Podcasts and wherever else fine podcasts are served.
Watched.
You can join us also. You can talk back to us. This isn't just a one-way podcast. This is a two-way street, ladies and gentlemen. If you have something to say, some burning question or comment, or wish to call us out on our whatever the fuck, you can do that. You can tweet at us at SSHB Podcast. And also we're on Tumblr. Also SSHB Podcast.
Oh yeah, we just wrapped season 2 and those episodes are up on the Tumblr
Yeah,
now.
we got a new post up there. Check those babies out. And then, of course, Facebook.com, search for Star to Steer Her By. I think that's all the social stuff.
I think so.
Great. So
Did you
again,
mention Tumblr? Yeah, you did. You just
I did
that.
mention Tumblr. So again, that's Who Watches the Watches and the Servivores next time on Star to Steer Her By. My name is Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
And this is always Caitlin.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues are calling. I haven't done that in a little while, so
That's
I
true.
had to get that out.
Yeah.
Good night, Seattle. We love you.